Pig is a data workflow scripting or transformation language. So very straightforward and simple to use. I'm going to show you examples of both Hive and Pig in a little bit. Scoop gives us import-export capability between HDFS, HBase, Hive, and a relational data warehouse like a SQL Server or Oracle, something like that. Flume is a tool that just gives us log file integration, so we can more easily integrate our log files. You can easily take like an Apache weblog file and drop it into a directory in HDFS and begin to work with it, but Flume just gives you a little bit of extra capability there. We also have Mahout. Mahout gives us machine learning and data mining and some more powerful analytic capabilities. Some of the things that you read about people doing in big data, a lot of them are doing it in Mahout, or at least starting there and then moving on to some more advanced things. So where does Microsoft fit in, right? So all that's open source compatible, Cloudera, Hortonworks, Yahoo, regular Apache, all these people. Microsoft said, hey, we want to play. So Microsoft Hadoop on Azure is a lot simpler. So you can spin up a cluster very easily right through the Azure portal. Of course, it's browser-based, so you've got all your provisioning. You can link up your Azure storage accounts. You can link up your Amazon S3 account. You can import data from the data market directly into Hive, which is pretty cool. We also get an interactive JavaScript console, which I'll show you in a little bit. That's kind of like your Windows version of your Unix command prompt, but you're going to get a lot more functionality out of that, depending upon what you're trying to accomplish. We also have interactive Hive commands and a Hive console, so we can run through and do those. We've also got, of course, from the portal page, we can RDP directly into our node. So we have a number of pieces of functionality. You'll see all that here in a little bit once we jump into the demo. Hive is essentially a program within Hadoop that allows us to put a table-like structure over top of our data, or to actually create a table and load the data in. It's used by most BI products that connect to Hadoop, so tools like Power Pivot, Power View, Analysis Services, even competitors like Tableau or Cognos, who have connectors, they all connect through Hive. They built a Hive connector. So they use an ODBC driver that's published by all the major manufacturers or just distributors. So Microsoft's got one, Hortonworks has one, Cloudera has one. And the query is going to generate that MapReduce job that we saw in that complicated diagram of the spreadsheet. We just have to write a query, and it's going to do everything else under the covers. Like I said, Microsoft has their own ODBC driver, so does everybody else. Pretty easy to get. Now, one of the things you'll see here is pretty easy to start working with Hive because we already know the commands for the most part. It's a little bit closer to ANSI SQL. It's not true T-SQL. But certainly it's very easy to do create table, alter table, drop table. We're going to do an insert, an overwrite if we need to, select, join, where, group by. Sorting can be a little tricky, but you can still do it. Fully functional there. And then we've got the capability to pass in jar files and things like that to be able to customize our map or our reduce end of that equation. So some pretty cool functionality there in Hive. So instead of SQL, Pig employs a language called Pig Latin. I know, I don't make these things up. It accommodates data flow expressions. So you can do a combo of query and ETL. It's kind of said 10 lines of Pig Latin is about 200 lines of Java. It works with both tabular and unstructured data, which is really nice, and you'll see an example of that. As with Hive, we're going to generate a MapReduce job. The difference is, unlike Hive, the output is only to a flat file in HDFS or to text at the command line prompt, so it doesn't go into a table. It's going to go into a file. A lot of people will use Pig to do some data organization and cleansing and then output it to a file in a directory in the format that they know the Hive table is expecting, so that automatically updates their Hive tables. So there's some pretty, some pretty good stuff that you can do by combining those two tools. There's a Grunt command line or Grunt shell. You'll see what that looks like here in a little bit. This is an example. So first we can just say A equals load my file. as my 3 columns are X, Y, and Z. Then we're going to set V equal to all the rows that we're going to filter those out. So we're going to say get rid of anything in A that where X is not greater than 0. Then we're going to group by our first column, and then we're going to take those results, and we're going to generate a count for each one of those, and we're going to store those into our output. So very, very simple, straightforward. I like to tell people, think about if you took what you were doing in an SSIS package and you just took each component and said, it wrote in one sentence what this component is doing. That's basically one line of code. So there's some very cool things that, that you can do in here. It's just not graphical, right? Is that coming? Probably at some point, but probably not in the next 6 to 12 months. So there's a lot of filter commands, or pig commands rather, that we can use. We can do load and store. There's for each. We can loop through. We can do joins and filters. It's very, very powerful, very, very fast, because every time you ask it to do something, it kicks off a mapper's job that is going to allow you to go out there and actually do some of these things. All right, so I've got a few resources for you here at the end, but first, let's go ahead and take a look at a demo. So to avoid any issue with the cloud, and because I wasn't 100% sure that, that I would be here today, I'm going to go up here to windowsazure.com. And right now, if you're interested in doing this on the cloud, you can come up here and take a look at features. And here's all their big data functionality. And you can get access to the developer preview. Now, what they're doing is they're granting this access as they add capacity. So just be patient with them if they're continuing to, to take some, a couple weeks to get you access. In the meantime, you can explore all of these different tools and different things and all of the documentation and white papers. It's all out here. The other place you can go is Microsoft.com/bigdata. Come on.